All right, welcome to a very special edition of Bitcoin. If you haven't done so, smash that subscribe, that like button. Store and the super chats are available. What an eventful weekend, Mr. FOMO. We did hit 70K this morning, so you are not going to be shaving your head live on the air. Still got 2 months for my 80K prediction. Remember, and I'm very confident about this, 80K towards the end of September, early October, and 100K by Halloween. Yes, still confident, but there was a hard rejection. That was the hardest rejection I've seen since you told your wife this morning you were going to put both paychecks in Iowa's network. And so we hit 70K. Joking, I think. Hopefully she's not watching the show. We hit 70K, and man, was it a rejection here. As you can pull up the chart, we rejected, and right before the year, we actually were at the high 66 range. Now we are sitting right now just a little under 70K. Go ahead.
Oh, let me pull that chart up for you.
And we will talk about Voyager. Not, I wish we had a date, but we'll tell you what we know.
All right. So when you're looking at the chart, you see that downward action that we faced over the last couple of hours, and you're thinking, wow, this is a terrible day. Oh, my God, I can't believe this crash. But when you really look at it, we're only about 1.3, 1.4% down from where we were 24 hours ago. Let me scroll this down a little bit. Then 7 days ago, we're only about 0.6% from where we were. And a month ago, well, we're up 10%. So, yes, today was an ugly day, or this morning was an ugly morning. But when you zoom out, you see that we're actually doing pretty well. And if you look at your portfolio, if you bought sometime in the last month, you're probably doing pretty well as well. So you probably know, even though it crashed over the last few hours, you probably know full well that we're doing really well and that we are still on our way up when you look at a chart like the 30-day.
Jason Kodiak, thank you guys so much for the kind words. Absolutely. Here's the thing about Voyager. We're going to have a not so great picture to show you a little bit later in the show of our old nemesis, Steve Ehrlich. Here's the deal. We are anticipating, Mr. FOMO, Paul did get back to you and get back to us. He's about ready to give an update. So I am going to, hopefully I'm not wrong, I anticipate an update by the end of Friday, business, by 5 p.m. Eastern time Friday. Hopefully we'll have our final date of our second distribution. That should happen either mid to late August is my guess. Hopefully not in September. Keep it here, but that is the latest. Now,
just to be clear, Paul did not give an exact date because of the phishing scams that have been going on. He does not want to preload that date for those phishing scams to go ahead and start attacking investors on that date. So what he's doing, I think, is kind of a smart thing. It's waiting until the day that he releases the information and then the day that he releases the checks to let everybody know. But what he's trying to do is limit the damage from these phishing scams and from these pig butchering scams that keep happening to our Voyager friends and family.
So August still is very much in play. At this point, it looks like we're very close. Worst case is September, in my opinion. But I'm hoping, heck, if this dip lasts any longer, you might get those checks right in time. We'll have to wait and see. Now, why did Bitcoin dip today? Yes, some people were really aggressive with just taking some bets that they should not have taken, honestly, and got, unfortunately, liquidated. We talk about be careful with leverage if you're out there. But here's what really happened. Let's talk about the Trump speech really quickly. I was a little underimpressed. Now, again, this is not a political show. Talked about not selling Bitcoin. Well, that didn't last long, and not that he had anything to do with today's actions. It looks like the government's about to sell $2 billion of Bitcoin here, and people are getting in front of it. But didn't give an exact, at least during the speech, didn't give an exact number of Bitcoin that he would purchase in his administration. He talked about creating a Bitcoin asset, a reserve, but didn't commit to as much. talked about firing Gary Gensler. Gary Gensler's gone no matter what. So to me, a bit of more of a campaign speech. I'm positive things for crypto, but I was hoping for more absolutes in terms of here's how much Bitcoin in my first year the government would commit to, hard numbers, exactly how long it would take. And we didn't actually get that. So I was a bit underwhelmed, to be honest. It's still, excellent for Bitcoin long term. I always say this: politicians need Bitcoin. Bitcoin doesn't need politicians. I don't care who it is. And so it'll just take time, but it will happen. And so that was my reaction to the speech on Saturday.
Yeah, I was shocked. I was shocked that he was not far more provocative, but I don't think he needed to be. Harris did not meet him on that stage like I said she needed to. And I think that was a big mistake on her campaign's fault, or on her campaign's part, is that they just gave up on this voting block, and they seem to continue to give up on this voting block as we go further and further into that campaign, or what seems to be that campaign. And so it was disappointing that he wasn't more provocative. It was disappointing that Harris didn't also show her face. Like you said, Bitcoin.
I mean, there were some big words about comparing Bitcoin to the steel industry, and Bitcoin was going to the moon. But I was expecting a little more in terms of, RFK has zero chance of winning electoral college. Not even going to sniff anything. However, his speech was extremely more detailed and in terms better, and so that I didn't get that from Trump. But again, I'm sure he won people over. We will stop talking
just by showing up.
Yeah, we'll
just
stop
by showing up.
By the way, Harris did say she wanted to reset relationships with the crypto market and the crypto community, whatever that means. We'll have to wait and see. But I do think she'll be more open-minded. Gary Gensler's gone no matter what. So,
and to be fair to the Democrats, 27 Democratic lawmakers did write a letter asking Elizabeth Warren to shut her trap about crypto. So you do have that going for that side of the aisle. Look. But again, I thought Trump would be way more provocative, and I thought that Harris should have showed up.
Yeah, we'll move on because we don't like to talk about politics. Very dirty. All right. Just a reminder here why Bitcoin is going to dominate the future. Today, for the first time ever, the U.S. debt went over 35 trillion. And I think we've talked about this on the show, but 76% of taxes that are collected are used to pay off interest on the debt. I want you to remember that as you think about why Bitcoin has a place in American and international societies, because some countries it's even worse than this, obviously. Now, this is a huge number, but unfortunately, and again, we're not going to go into politics, but it seems like no matter who is in power, overspending is the game. And that's where the U.S. government, as soon as it can, needs to get some Bitcoin. And you as an individual, if you haven't done so, need to do some research, not financial advice, about having Bitcoin in your future financial portfolio. As I've said before, people are going to need Bitcoin over the next 10 years. It's going to be a necessity, not an option. And when you say that, there are still some people that look at you like you're crazy. We know who those people are, Mr. FOMO, in our lives, but even they have to admit this is a staggering number.
It's a staggering number, and it's hard to swallow as you watch it continue go up and up and up and up. And I don't think you emphasized enough that only 24% of what you pay in taxes is actually going to public services. To think about the roads and the schools and the bridges and all the things that you would be able to have in as far as public services are concerned, and as far as infrastructure is concerned, if we weren't in this kind of debt. And so it's disappointing, and especially when you know that over the last two administrations, we've added like 15 trillion or over 15 trillion to that in the last two administrations. And what are we voting on? We're voting on putting one of those two administrations back into power. So it doesn't seem, like you said, that we've learned our lesson and that we are going to be turning back from this at any point. And so, like you said again, it's important to have assets. And one thing Trump did say was that he did think that Bitcoin would overtake gold as far as the market cap one day. So
Absolutely.
I forgot. That's one thing that I
Right.
forgot that just popped into my head as we were talking about this.
And again, it's going to take time, right? I made a short last year about Bitcoin going to 1 million, and some of the responses were very angry. It's never going to happen. People calling me names. I hope this show is still around when we hit the million. I can't wait for the Halloween 100K episode, but the million episode is going to hit well. And even if the show doesn't exist, we'll come back and just do $1 million episode. But
if we've been doing the show this long and not making any money, I don't see why we wouldn't keep doing it.
Absolutely. All right. Now, let's get positive here. Okay? Our buddy Plan B. All right. Here we go. Okay? He expects Bitcoin to double in price in the next 3 to 5 months. That's exactly what I've been saying. Now, I'm saying 3, not 5. I think there will be a pushback in December. So mine is 3 to 4 months here, but a double would put us in the 135 to 140 range. My high for this cycle is 150K. What do you think, Mr. FOMO?
I love Plan B and his charts and his data and all the stuff that he puts out, but sometimes he's not exactly correct and sometimes he's dead on. And so it's hard to say with him, but we have been saying all along somewhere between 125 and 150 was our target for this bull run. And so to see him saying that with his data and his charts and stuff, it kind of gives me a little bit of I don't know, confidence in our predictions. But like I said, it's anybody's guess as far as the crypto market is concerned, especially when there's so many market makers and players out there.
Yeah, I love August through October. And again, there will be negative days. There might be a negative week or two in that stretch. You might have a tiny bear for a week or so. But I don't think we're going to get a month or 2 months. Now this has been almost exactly 4 months now of negative price action. I do anticipate things will turn around. I'm very confident we're going to retake 70K over the next 7 to 10 days. In fact, I think 75K is easily going to be reached this month. Like I said, 80 in so not this month, excuse me, in August. We're almost in August. 80 in September. Like I said, I think we're pushing towards over 100K right around before Halloween. Now, something that disgusted me about the Bitcoin conference, and it wasn't about politicians. It was about this horrible, pardon my language, human being, Stephen Ehrlich, who shows up. One person, and I believe he's watched our show before, I'll give him credit, said, the balls of Steve to show up to Bitcoin 2024. And you can read that. Not a good picture, I know, but I was trying not to harass the guy and got kicked out. So obviously he has security around him. Looks like he's kind of walking around, trying not to get noticed. The audacity of the guy to show up to a Bitcoin conference when he knows some of his former customers would be there. This guy, okay, you're not going to apologize. People are still waiting well over 2 years for a second distribution, and you're showing up walking around from the Caribbean like you're a regular guy. Just disgusting. Wish this guy nothing but the worst again.
Yeah, like you said, there are a lot of people that are still hurting out there, us included. A lot of people still waiting on their money to come back to them. And this is the guy that told us that it was our crypto, right? He was on the podcast. He was the one pushing those ideas. And then when we turned around and went into bankruptcy, when you messaged him, you sent him a DM on Twitter, back when it was Twitter, I believe. And he told you, read the fine print.
Oh, yeah.
And so this is a guy that has no class. He does not care about the people that he's hurt. He never cared about any of the people who were stacking Steves back in the day. And so it doesn't surprise me to see him skulking around Bitcoin like he's somebody important still. But it surprises me that the Bitcoin conference sees him there and doesn't kick him out.
That's
I
sad.
mean, it's akin to Sam Bankman-Fried showing up at the Bitcoin
Or
conference.
Zelensky. Sorry, not
Right.
Zelensky. Freudian slip. The but you're right.
So
Okay.
you mean the guy from Celsius, right?
The guy from Sal, sorry. The guy, I don't
Yeah.
know why. Word politics on my mind. Just
Anyway, but
Krasinski, not
it's
Zelensky.
akin to one of those guys showing up, right? And them not kicking them out. He should not be allowed in your conference. And so what I hope happened is I hope that this is just some random white guy that kind of looks like Steve that
No,
just happened to
it
be there.
was him. He was there. People
And so
commented.
it's just despicable for him, one, to do what he's done and then show back up, but two, he's not there just to hang out and hear people speak.
He's trying to
He's
squirm his way back into the business.
right. He's trying to squirm
Industry.
his way back into the business. And so I have no respect for this. I have no love for this. I'm glad that whoever it was harassed him until they got kicked out. And I'm disappointed in the Bitcoin conference for not recognizing that that was a person from Voyager that had been hurt by this man and that they should have kicked Steve and his security out.
Absolutely. What a disgrace. Absolute disgrace. All right, let's end on something positive here. Okay. You know, when Bitcoin has a big surge and then a bit of a retrace, you want to pay attention to what is doing really well. I told you guys you wanted to jump on the Soul Train. Well, guess what? We made a nice run all the way to 190, got a pullback, and now we're coming right back up again. All right. So you see the 1 day here, I pull up the 7 day, and now you see it. Okay. Now look at the monthly here. Boom. Okay. Guys, this thing, do your own research, is going to 300 in August. You want to be on the Soul Train. I think 500 during this cycle is worst case scenario. There, I said it. But we are going to 300 in August. If you haven't jumped on the Soul Train, maybe use this dip over the next couple days. I do think we're in for a bit of a dip. I think we're going to stay in the 60s for at least a couple days here. But like I said, I expect Bitcoin to bounce back, retake 70K in August, and at least get to 75 minimum and get to 80 in September. But these are just, very conservative estimates from me. But you want to look at Solana, you want to look at iOS Network. These are the ones that were doing really well over the last 48 hours. And, I do think Injective was another one. You know how I am on Carrot. Okay. I do think these are going to be superstars over the next couple months. Go ahead, Mr. Cole.
I totally agree. And that's something that I don't think you stressed enough there is when we get these pullbacks and when we get these pumps, you need to be paying attention to what else is pumping hard and what else is resisting the pullback. And so when you see things like Solana, AIOZ, Injective, you see a lot of these things holding their ground when Bitcoin is pulling back this hard, or if you see them pumping along with Bitcoin or pumping harder than Bitcoin, you know that that's probably a safe bet going into this bull run or going into the next pump. So I really like that strategy, is to look around the market, see what's holding strength right now, see what's not falling through the floor, because there are some in my portfolio that are absolutely losing it right now.
Okay, one more. We pride ourselves on transparency. We just did a portfolio show. I switched into something this morning, and I want to be 100% honest with our viewers. Not a ton, but to set your network. Basically, I had subquery, and I changed it to this. It's a bit of an AI play. What I kind of like about this, I still think the market cap has a pretty good way to go. And we're under $1 billion. And I think this one has a ton of potential. You see here the 7 day. Let me pull up the yearly. And you see, I believe we still have room to grow on this one. And so this one is 500 on market cap. It's 217. So just a little below the top 200. Not a huge play here for me, but I kind of like its potential over the next couple months. So just a bit of a change in my portfolio. Always be looking for opportunities. Now, I just want to say this, please, over the next 3 months, Be aggressive in taking profits. Don't let people tell you it's a super cycle. Don't fall for it. You're going to see that when Bitcoin gets to 100K, people are going to be saying, this is going to last forever. We're never going back down. Don't buy.
And don't fall for the broken cycle theory as well. The people are going to be telling you, oh, the cycle is broken. There's enough money in it now. We're not going to see a bear market. And that's just not true. We're just not to the point where we can see that yet.
Do I think no? Here's the deal. I think the bear market is going to happen sometime in 2025. No matter who wins the election. Now, maybe yes, if Trump wins, it'll be more favorable for Bitcoin in the short term. Long term, like I said, Bitcoin doesn't need politicians. Politicians will need Bitcoin. So yes, it'll have an effect. But I think the 150 is happening no matter who wins. That might not be a popular opinion with some people, but I think a Trump win could boost Bitcoin a little bit. But I don't think a Trump losing it is going to necessarily mean that we're going straight into a bear market in November. What I anticipate is a pullback in November, December. Remember, the government admitted that they're going to do some rate cuts now. I anticipate those rate cuts to start in a few months and continue into 2025. My current estimation is this bull run is going to go into March of 2025. Don't hold me to that. That's how I feel about today. And I don't think the election might help pull on a mini bear during what Mr. FOMO calls the holiday hole. But I don't think a Trump loss is going to kill the bull run itself. What do you think, Mr. FOMO?
I agree. I don't think it's going to kill the bull run, but I do think that it would be a negative, especially the way that the parties seem to be setting up on crypto. We'll have to see what the Democratic Party does in the face of what's happening now. Like we said earlier, there are some senators that are turning their allegiance, and they wrote a letter to Elizabeth Warren, who we know is a banking shill and has been pushing negative crypto information all along. And they asked her to kind of shut up about it. And so it seems that they're turning their attention towards crypto, just not quickly enough. So I think there would be a negative effect if Harris won, at least in the short term. Long term, I believe that crypto is bigger than.
I just wish these politicians would watch shows like this and understand how Bitcoin is very different than other crypto projects. How ETH and Solana are very different than most crypto projects. They would get a much better idea of what is and what's not safe to be in long term. Again, guys, before we leave you, not a good time to sell your BTC, not a good time to sell your ETH, and not a good time to leave the Soul Train. Good days are ahead. Watch out for the next 3 months. Things are going to heat up. Do us a favor, share the show. If you have not done so, please drop what you're doing right now. Smash that subscribe button, because not only is Bitcoin going up, but so is this show. Guys, we thank you so much. And you guys have a great evening, and we will see you later.
See ya.